Welcome back to Roll Call TV, where we're joined by Scot Faulkner, the first Chief Administrative Officer of the House of Representatives and author of Naked Emperors, The Failure of the Republican Revolution. And joining me in the questioning is Lauren Whittington, a senior staff writer for Roll Call newspaper. I talked a few moments ago about some secrets in the House, right, so to speak, and you write in your book that when you were walking in the hallway, you walked past this one room and there was a folding room.
Right.
Now, you can make the argument that back in the 17 and 1800s, there was a need for a folding room where I presume the staff would literally fold the constituents from the members of Congress to their constituents.
Exactly.
But this is 1994. Walk us through this.
Well, again, it's one of these things where there was a general fund that was hiding real costs from individual members, and members mail a lot of mass mailings. This is really for their newsletters, not for the individual correspondence. And so you literally had 130 some odd people who were doing nothing but running folding machines. And of course that was high fixed cost, and during the Christmas season they had nothing to do. So what they did was they bought wrapping paper with tax dollars and did a wrapping room. And so one of my chapters opens with walking around the Longworth basement and seeing these two large candy canes, big cardboard candy canes, and 50 people standing with little boxes waiting outside. And I said, "What's going on?" They said, "That's the free gift wrapping." And so these kind of surreal moments, I mean, we got rid of the folding room. Now people go out to a Staples or a Kinko's just like anyone else does, and they now have to actually charge it to their account. So there's accountability that wasn't there before.
So there were government-funded employees around holiday season that were being paid to
wrap presents for staffers, personal presents for staffers.
And the wrapping paper, the tape, everything else
was free to them, but obviously it was on
paid for by the tax.
Lauren Whittington, tax dollars at work.
Fast forward to 2008. Could something like that even happen today?
I would highly doubt it, because I think Roll Call would be on the story if it did.
Well, you know, it's very interesting about that, because another secret of the House that you write in the book is that there are a lot of folks on the Hill that have custom-made furniture, that have interior decorators, folks that literally come in and say, you know, Congressperson, we think you should have this blue drape, or whatever the case may be, but it's all at taxpayer dollars. And you can make the argument that, again, this was 1994. You know, we still had deficits. We still had, there were a lot of issues going on, whether it be healthcare, you know, Bosnia, Iraq, ironically enough, that were going on, but yet and still, there were some individuals there that were more concerned about the folding room and about interior decorating. How could that be?
Because, again, they live in this bubble. They think they are so important and that they are on this different plane of existence from mere mortals, and they have staff around them that take care of their every need. So the result is they move from being part of the real world to this world of the Congress.
Lauren, is that still the case today? Is there still a lot of excess staff that perhaps may do some personal things on behalf of members when they really shouldn't be doing those things?
Sure, and that's been an issue that's recently come up about members who use their staff. 'Cause a lot of times it's very commonplace for staff to, during an election year, split their time between the official business and the campaign, the members' campaign staff. And so it's kind of a sticky fine line between what you're doing on official time and then what you're taking a leave of absence to do on campaign time.
Please, go ahead.
And I mean, over the years, certainly just overall, congressional staff has ballooned in terms of members' personal staff. Back in the day, I mean, they used to have one or two couple staffers. Now they have a staff of, up to 20. And so I think that there's definitely, could be some consolidation.
So who polices this? Let's say hypothetically Congressman X from X state literally is being caught using taxpayer funds to do personal things. Who polices that? Who says, you know what, Congressperson, not only are we going to give you a slap on the wrist, but we're also going to file an ethics charge, or whatever the case may be? Who polices the police?
Well, it's not very well policed. I mean, I think that's one of the issues that has come up recently. It depends on how it's found. If it's discovered, I mean, that's technically breaking the law. So that would be, a Justice Department issue. But the Ethics Committee certainly would be something for the Ethics Committee to take up. And I think one of the issues that we're struggling with in 2008 and, have before is the Ethics Committee in Congress doesn't properly function.
Scot Faulkner, in 2008, we have a different revolution, so
Right.
to speak, and that is the Democrats obviously taking control of the Congress on both sides in 2006, and again, fast forward to 2008. Would you make the argument that Speaker Pelosi, as well as Senator Reid, who is the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, are they doing a good job of managing the Capitol from an overall management perspective?
Actually, certainly on the House side, absolutely, because there were a number of things which we called Phase 2, which never happened under the Republicans, that are actually happening under the Democrats. The most important one is the actual online broadcasting and archiving of those broadcasts of most committee hearings. That was something we proposed early on in '95.
But it got shot down.
It was shot down, said we can't have things be that public. Well, now I'd say over 90% of the hearings on the House side are broadcast on the web and are archived, so somebody can watch it on a weekend or other things, which was one of our major issues of transparency.
In fact, well, speaking of transparency, in fact, you write in the book, and obviously everyone remembers this, back in 1994, there was the Contract of America where Newt Gingrich and some other folks literally stood at the foot of the Capitol and said, we're going to be transparent, we're going to be open, this is going to be a new kind of governance if, in fact, you elect Republicans to power. But you said in the book that some of the ideas got shot down because it was too transparent.
Right. I mean, some members just wanted the reality, the rhetoric. They didn't want the reality. And some of them wanted a press release that came out that said we did something and didn't really want, again, the reality. Again, looking at today, the Congress today, the House side is moving forward. Again, you have a professional manager being the CAO. They've kept Bill Livingood, who's the security expert, as the Sergeant of Arms. So the professionalization of the operation of the House has continued, and I think that's a great thing.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because you also say in the book that good management is just good management.
Exactly.
There is no Republican or Democratic way to pay the bills, purchase supplies, or meet customer needs. There's only what works and what makes sense. So
Right.
fast forward to today, Lauren and Scott, you could make the argument that, look, paying the bills, it's irrelevant whether you're conservative or you're liberal.
Exactly.
But again, do you think, based from what you see going on Capitol Hill every day, Lauren, that Speaker Pelosi and Senator Reid are doing a pretty good faith effort in making sure that the overall management of the Capitol is run in a pretty proficient way, so that the taxpayers can say, you know what, my taxpayer dollars are being used in a pretty good way?
I think they are, and certainly on the House side, and overall, I mean, Speaker Pelosi, the greening of the Capitol, which is a big initiative that she's undertaken. But I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on this, because you mentioned specifically on the House side things being run in a very professional way and kind of moving forward, because the Republicans in the House have actually charged Speaker Pelosi with politicizing the CAO job
Right.
with Mr. Beard. And so it's interesting that we're talking about it being a nonpartisan job, but yet she has, Republicans are saying that she actually put in, one of
One of our own.
one of her own.
Well, again, in the book I talk about one point, now Senator Roberts was saying shocked, like in Casablanca, that there's partisanship going on in the Congress. But the key is that you can have Republicans like myself who were in the private sector, had a management credential, and Dan Beard went to the private sector. He worked for a major consulting firm. He has private sector credentials. The best of both worlds is needed as a CAO. You need to understand the uniqueness of the House. It is a parliamentary body. It is a political institution. But you want to have that private sector capability of coming in and saying it's a conference center, it's a big office complex, and to be able to bring private sector practices to bear. Having someone who doesn't understand the Congress would maybe be almost too dogmatic on the private sector side and not understand the uniqueness of the House. Someone without business background might succumb to some of the problems that we uncovered back in '94. So you have to have that balance, and Dan has that.
We got about 10 seconds left. Scot Faulkner, do you believe today, in 2008, that the Congress is better off than we were 30 years ago, and from a management standpoint?
Absolutely.
Lauren, what are your thoughts?
I think definitely things have been much more modernized than they were
Outstanding.
when he took over.
Great. Well, Lauren Whittington, senior staff writer for Roll Call newspaper, and of course, Scot Faulkner, the author of Naked Emperors, The Failure of the Republican Revolution. Thank you very much for joining us. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Wish we had more time. Take care.